Hi. What's a pirate's favorite letter?
It's not R, right?
Definitely not R. Yeah, so let's jump into it this week. Let's start off with voice and kind of what's going on for businesses and search and kind of there.
Yeah, I feel like with voice search, we hear it a lot, and as normal consumers, we have it in our homes with Alexa or Google Home, how we use Siri, things like that. But as a business, what does that mean for you? This is where I feel like a lot of vlogs and companies really get it wrong. They don't know how to translate voice search into applying it into their own company so that it does benefit their customers. So let's say you're a cupcake shop. You know, you're not going to invest all this money into creating an app for your cupcake shop so that you can be on Alexa. But there are things that you can do to benefit your business, your website for voice search. You know, those local stores, you can really promote things like for Siri users or for Alexa or Cortana or whoever they use to remind you again to visit this place, especially if you live in a big tourist city like New York or Tampa, LA. Just doing little things like that really does help. Also, if you have access to your website, or you can ask your webmaster to get a hold of the server logs. And what you're looking for there is the long tail search words, the search phrases that users ask on your website. When you start learning the speech of your customers better, you can better understand how they're searching, and then you can change the content and the voice on your own website to better answer their questions in the long run.
So I feel like with search, a lot of this, you know, everybody's kind of always looking, especially in tech, the next thing you go to, we talked about before, is, you know, you've heard about voice for so long happening, and now we're kind of looking about augmented reality and virtual reality kind of pushing, and everything that's coming soon is coming soon. A lot of it feels like search is definitely becoming first, and even that's not quite matured yet. And you're looking at everything going on with Google, trying to push Google Home in every house there is. Yeah. I mean, you can see every utility from, you know, ComEd to whoever trying to hand out free things by just doing whatever. They're trying to get these devices in as many hands in homes as possible. Amazon definitely has the leg up on that. They've been pushing that and kind of had that forefront for a while now. So I think a lot of it right now is just setting things up for what's to come.
Yeah, that's a good point. Foundation.
Yeah, so I think, you know, for a business, it might not make sense right away, like how we integrate search into it, because there's enough volume to your users naturally use search currently. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. You can see the potential eventually of, say, like an HVAC company, you know, needs to reorder filters or something. You can kind of, hey Alexa, you know, I just kind of alert, can we reorder these, and then done, you're good to go. For most businesses, it's just not there yet.
Right.
But as you said, laying that framework, you know, you're seeing Amazon and Google lay that framework by getting the hardware out and start collecting this data, start kind of building this user base. From a business side, by looking at these logs and kind of seeing what people are searching for, you too can start building kind of this data directory in the sense of what people are searching for most. Because if you look back and go, okay, we want to now jump on, we're a little late to the party and voice is taking off, what do we need to do? Let's look at search data that for the last week, or do you want to go, let's look at the last 2 years now because we were ahead of this. We've got a lot of data now, that's a competitive advantage over another HVAC company or your competitor, because you're collecting that data early and kind of getting ready for what's next.
Right, and that's what Amazon's doing with Alexa, or that's what Google's doing with Home. They're looking at that data to hear and see what people are searching. Oh, yeah. Hey Alexa, hey this, hey that. And you could do the same things, as Kevin was saying, the same things on your website, and really look, research and understand how your customers are searching you.
Yeah, for sure.
I guess one thing about that is, how do you get people to go onto your website and actually search?
Yeah.
A big thing would be being mobile ready.
Yep.
If your website isn't responsive, if it doesn't catch their attention, doesn't have what they need, they're not going to search anything on your website, so you're not going to get that data.
So it's kind of like we're saying, requisite for search is you need to have that volume, that data to know what's going on. To even get to the point where you can collect data, you need to have the website that's going to support that. So it's all kind of having that framework in place. Yeah. That totally makes sense.
Yeah, if you're not mobile ready at this point, then you're definitely, that's probably step
Yeah.
number one.
Right.
Make sure your site is mobile ready, responsive. If you have no clue what those things are, please ask us. We'd be happy to help you with that. If you're on the internet, which you should be, you need to be mobile ready. You need to be responsive. It's really not a choice.
Yeah, that's not forward looking anymore. That's now
Right.
present and past. So
Right.
that's, yeah, absolutely a base. So kind of more future tech things I think we're talking about a little bit is just augmented reality. What's kind of that space looking like for e-commerce businesses in general? I think we kind of were having a discussion earlier a little bit about what exactly is augmented reality, what is virtual reality, how are people even terming this? Because it's, again, nothing that's set, it's a future tech.
Right.
Like what does that even mean, and what was one of the stats you came across, Kitsia?
That by 2020, a certain percentage of people were going to shop.
Already through augmented reality,
Through
through an
augmented
experience like that?
Yeah.
And then again, you kind of look at the story and kind of figure out, well, what's even considered augmented reality?
Yeah, where's the line in the sand for virtual versus augmented?
Right.
We talk about how this isn't here yet, it's coming in the future, but a lot of people might argue that it is here. Well, we more say that some of it is here. It's as if they're making it live while they're still testing it. They're bringing it about while still having the conversation. So I don't know. I just think there's still a lot of work to do with that, and not everything has been defined, even with the simple word. What's the line and the difference between virtual and augmented? You can give some examples, but it crosses over so much now that it's almost becoming, or I could see it becoming one and the same.
Yeah, and you see some bigger brands leveraging it in a sense. Amazon and IKEA is one of them that's kind of cool. They've got an app out now where you can take a picture of your room, grab something from a catalog and kind of place it in the space. So maybe some of the big brands that are a little more creative and risk-taking, like those guys, they're just starting to very entry-level play with it. That tells you how far away mainstream market is from it.
Right. And that's the key, mainstream market. Like,
Right.
how does this apply to, that local cupcake shop or that person that sells cat socks online?
Right.
I mean, that's where the real consumer base is. Not everyone's going to be this huge, big company. There's only one Facebook. There's only one Amazon. So for everyone else in the game, what it means for them. So, but yeah, the conversation we had was kind of cool as far as ideas. Like, does this mean that I can put my virtual reality goggles on and go shopping in Amazon, or go down Google Maps and come into a retail store and actually shop via my goggles on my phone? I don't know, probably maybe at some point, but
Right.
definitely down the line.
It's definitely down the line. I think it's going to change very quickly too, that we're now, hardware players are playing with the big like Halo lens goggles and such. I think very quickly to get that mainstream, they know it can't exist like that. No one's going to walk around data like that. You're going to have, the trendsetters will do it, and they'll, kind of take a Snapchat goggles and glasses and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's so minute of a place that you need to get to the point where it's, your car windshield is doing stuff, or contact lenses are, or glasses,
Right.
regular glasses. I mean, it's got to come so far still. But it doesn't mean it's not cool to talk about it and kind of dream
Right.
about what it's going to be.
Well, like driverless cars, those are actually here right now. They're just in
Very
two
good.
cities, in
Yeah.
Phoenix and in somewhere out in California. And there's already been a couple of accidents, but it's fun to talk about, and it's interesting to see as they try to implement it into real world. When will we all have driverless cars? I don't know. They're out now, but I don't see that happening for everyone in the near future.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's change it a little bit and go on to some news that's going on on Facebook. Basically a change to how their news feed's kind of running.
Yeah.
What's the changes going on there, Kitsia?
Well, they recently, I guess not recently, back in October they announced it, that they were splitting up the news feed between personal, like posts, pictures, friends and family, to a separate one for company posts called the Explore feed.
Yeah.
And basically, for your company, your business to show up, you're gonna have to pay for that, to have that exposure in the newsfeed instead of just of the Explore feed.
Yeah.
So you can't just go into Facebook anymore thinking, oh, sign up for free, get my free business page, and it'll take off. Like, that's not
Yeah,
a
it's
thing
becoming
anymore.
a pay-to-play
Pay to
platform
play.
for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, your page feed is still important for those fans that you have attracted to your brand, but it's no longer posting content. It's just there to attract new. You don't have to actually pay for it.
Yeah.
And I think the big question too that most businesses would have is, now it's going to be this. Facebook has been known as being a really great value to invest in. CPC is very low for that kind of site compared to Google AdWords.
Yeah.
Which is the big one. And it's such a mature, established market. It's drastically cheaper.
Yeah.
I think the current concern is then now this marketplace, this feed's going to flood even more businesses because you're not going to show up unless you're paying. What's that going to do to prices? What's that going to do to competition? It's just the same thing as it was for AdWords when that started getting more competitive. Your content needs to be better. You need to be more targeted. You can't kind of just hit everything anymore. It'd probably be too expensive. So you want to get more niched. And it's actually pushing businesses, I think, to the point where they're going to be doing what they should have been doing originally.
Yeah. Right. I mean, you really find, if you can get past the whole, it's not fair, because truly, I get it. It used to be you Google something and you get organic results, and then Google Ads came out and you get 1 or 2 ads and then organic results. And now it's 4 or 5, 6 or 7 ads and then organic results. It's just the way, the way the world is changing, the way digital is changing. You need both organic and pay to play. You need ads in order to be in the game on both ends of the spectrum. Organic's so important for long term, and ads are really important for exposure, not just in the immediate and now, but to be in that top tier, to be visible. So when you're using them both hand in hand, it really works out for your company very well. But it is an investment. I mean, there's no lie there, and that's why we laugh about the difference between Google and Facebook. You need about 100 at least in Google AdWords to go the same distance as $1 in Facebook. But
even then, $1 isn't worth that much on Facebook either, or 5. Like, you'd have to do 10 minimum to get your post out there.
Yeah.
Otherwise, organic is minimal on Facebook.
That's true.
Pay to play.
Yeah, and I think on Facebook side too, from a business, you immediately get frustrated because that platform for you is to sell and be in front of people, but really from the consumer base, which is the big base of it, it's I want to consume content from my friends, a little bit of news, and possibly targeted ads that make sense, but I don't want to be there now where it's just tons of businesses. So it's actually, to some degree, it's going to benefit consumers. It could benefit businesses to kind of reduce a little white noise going on where you have right now, so much of your feed is dedicated to business stuff coming through, that now if you're going to be just selectively ads, and if Zuckerberg's right, he's going to say we're going to get more personal back to how it was, you're going to have a little bit more possible standout if that's always the thing, if they actually follow through with it, and if it's true. But I'm painting the scenario that if that's what they're saying they're going to do, and if they do it, it could be beneficial, again, as long as your message, your content, your video, whatever it is targeting the person that's what they're looking for, and it's a cool message.
Right.
So it's not doom and gloom for it. It's just going to get more expensive, and you're just going to be better at it.
Yeah.
But that's exciting for us.
Yeah,
it's fun making competitive ads. And
that's true. We do have to keep in mind that it is beta for the most part.
Yeah.
And I think you might have already heard some backlash from other companies, so they might not be rolling through with it or limit it for the most part right now. So that's still something you have to be careful of or aware of, that this is something that can do and change the whole landscape of.
And they can roll it out, and 4 weeks later change everything again. So it's just constantly adapting to digital. That's just the world we're in. I know
with all of our conversations that we have with anything digital, the world now is so much more than I need a website. So you need to stay on top of everything that's going on. You need a website. Are you, mobile responsive? Are you secure? Do you have the content? Are you being seen by searchers? Are you advertising? I mean, and just the amount of knowledge that a person needs to have in order to run an ad versus, having your website optimized or designed or mobile responsive, all these things. That's why people like us are here, because that's our expertise and what we do on a full-time basis. Whereas I love to say the person with the cupcake shop, I don't make cupcakes. I don't know how to run a cupcake business, but we do know what we're doing when it comes to digital. And that's why we're here to help our clients continue to grow so that they can continue to do what they're good at, so that we can provide them what we're good at.
Yeah, that's the core of how we run. It's our passion drives your passion and vice versa. So very cool. It's a pretty episode of looking forward at a few different technologies coming up and what the world could be.
Or what it is.
Or what it is. That's very true.
What it is and will be at the same time.
Yeah, keep watching. We'll be everywhere, YouTube, Facebook, just to watch more episodes in the future. Thanks for watching, guys.
See you next time.
Click that like button.